Hampshire Institute of Politics at St. Anselm College, where history is made every single day, today being, of course, no exception. Next Tuesday, by the way, Secretary of HUD, Ben Carson, will be here as well, so we want to see you back for that big event. I just want to recognize, we have a lot of notable people here today, but I want to recognize two people. Our new president, Dr. Joe Favazza, is here. I can't see with all the lights, but he is right here in the back. New president of St. Anselm College. And I'd also recognize my great friend Steve Stepanek, the chairman of the Republican Party. These events are made possible by our wonderful sponsors. Their banners are around the room, so please note them. We're very appreciative of what they do so that we continue to do this. Our partner with Politics and Eggs is the New England Council. It's a great partnership continuing on, obviously a little bit busy lately, and its chairman and CEO, Jim Brett, is here, and I'd like to introduce him for the purposes of an introduction. Jim Brett.
Well, good afternoon and welcome everyone. I too want to thank Dr. Favazza, not just for that very kind word that Neil and so many people here have worked with the New England Council for many, many years. I think today is the 20th Politics and Egg event that we've had this year. None of that would be possible without the incredible collaboration between these wonderful organizations, the Institute here and the New England Council. And I just want to say thank you to the staff of the New England Council and to the staff of the Institute here. And of course, a very deep gratitude to Politics and Eggs series sponsors, whose banners you see around the room for their ongoing generosity, their support, and of this very, very important program. We are proud to be able to offer a forum for our region's business leaders to hear from presidential candidates and their representatives during the presidential primary season. We could not do that without the generous support we receive from our sponsors. We have the great honor today to welcome as our speaker, the Vice President of the United States, the Honorable Mike Pence. Vice President Pence has a 2-decade-long record of significant public service. He was first elected to the House of Representatives in 2000 and completed 6 terms as a congressman. And during that service, his colleagues chose him to serve as the chair of the House Republican Study Committee and the chair of the House Republican Conference. In 2012, he was elected governor of the great state of Indiana. And as governor, his support for pro-growth policies paid off. He sponsored individual and business tax cuts to attract new investment to the Hoosier state. And 2 of his priorities were public school education and transportation infrastructure. He increased school funding, he expanded school choice, and created the first state-funded pre-K program for his great state. He made career and technical education a priority in every public high school. As for transportation, he sponsored the investment of more than $800 million in new and repair roads and bridges. At the same time, he was working to cut taxes. And when he left office, Indiana had a AAA credit rating. Not bad. Now he is back in Washington. And rumor has it that he likes it there and would like to stay there a little longer. So he just happens to be in the first in the nation primary state to formally file the necessary paperwork to appear on the ballot as a candidate for renomination. The New Hampshire primary, after all, I believe is 96 days away, but who is counting? And on a personal note, it appears that he and I have something in common. Vice President's grandfather immigrated to the United States from Ireland in the early 1920s. He came from a little town in County Sligo called Tuppacurry. Well, guess what? In the early 20s, my father also came to this country, also from Tuppacurry, which was a small village. And the chances are good that the 2 men knew or knew of each other. Perhaps they were even cousins. Who knows? But what we do know, and I am sure the Vice President will agree with me, is that we are glad those men made the decision to come to America, the land of opportunity. We are pleased that the Vice President could take the time to visit us, Politics and Eggs, while he is here in this great state of New Hampshire. Would you please join me in giving a warm welcome to the 48th Vice President of the United States, the Honorable Mike Pence.
Well, thank you all for that warm welcome, and hello, New Hampshire. Hello. It is great to be back in the Granite State. To Dr. Favaza and St. Anselm College, to all the great business leaders from the New England Council, including Jim Brett. Would you give him a round of applause? I just was deeply moved by that great and gracious introduction. Fred Coker, the founder of Politics and Eggs, to all the distinguished elected officials, fellow Americans gathered here. Thank you for the warm welcome back to the home of the first in the nation primary and the state where a movement began to make America strong again, to make America prosperous again, where a movement began to make America great again, the great state of New Hampshire. It really is a privilege to be here with all of you and all the great business leaders and many students who are gathered here today. And as I begin, allow me to bring greetings from a friend of mine. As I was landing in New Hampshire this morning, I told him that I was headed to the State House to file some papers on his behalf. And he wanted me to convey his deepest regards and affection. He is someone who loves the Granite State and said to me again today that he will always be grateful for the confidence the people of New Hampshire placed in him in that first in the nation primary. I bring greetings from the 45th President of the United States of America, President Donald Trump. The President gave me the privilege today, as Vice Presidents have done before, to travel to New Hampshire to file his declaration of candidacy. And it was my honor, just a few short hours ago, to place the name of President Donald Trump on the ballot for the New Hampshire Republican presidential primary scheduled for February 11th, 2020. Which Jim just confirmed to us is, I guess, just 96 days away. But it really is great to be here today. It's great to be here today to address Politics and Eggs here at St. Anselm College. And really to take a moment to make the case to the people of New Hampshire and the people of America that just as New Hampshire knew in that Republican primary nearly 4 years ago, we now once again need New Hampshire and America to say yes to 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. I mean, the truth is, in voting to nominate President Donald Trump in the New Hampshire primary in 2016, Republicans in this state did set into motion a movement and leadership that would transform our military, our economy, and our courts. Here in New Hampshire, you launched a movement that nominated a candidate and elected a president who is making America great again. And it's my great honor to be able to come and share about the progress that we've made. And it's amazing that we've done so much in just 3 short years. Despite endless investigations and Democrat attempts to overturn the results of the 2016 election, President Donald Trump has never stopped delivering on the promises he made to the people of New Hampshire and the people of America. In fact, coming fresh from the State House, I think there's only one way you can describe the last 3 years. It's been 3 years of action. It's been 3 years of results. It's been 3 years of promises made and promises kept. But we're just getting started, New Hampshire. That's why we need 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. And 4 years ago, President Trump spoke on this very campus, at this very podium, about his vision for America. And 4 years later, think about all the progress we've made in making that vision a reality. The truth is, when you look at all that we've done, you have to conclude that President Donald Trump delivered. I mean, think about it. We've rebuilt our military and restored the arsenal of democracy. The American economy is booming. We've cut illegal immigration at our southern border in half in just the past 4 months, and the President has appointed a record number of conservatives to our federal courts at every level. I mean, jobs are back. Confidence is back. In a word, America is back, New Hampshire, and we're just getting started. I mean, think about it. Starting with our national security, to provide for the common defense is the first object of the federal government. And this president promised, after years of reckless cutbacks, to rebuild our military. And President Donald Trump delivered. In fact, this president has already signed the largest increases in our national defense since the days of Ronald Reagan. And that includes the largest pay raise for our men and women in uniform in more than 10 years. I have to tell you, as the proud father of a United States Marine, and very soon the father-in-law of a United States Navy aviator, I couldn't be more proud to serve alongside a president who cares so deeply about the men and women of our armed forces and their families. I mean, the truth is, thanks to this president's leadership and strong support in the Congress, we're once again giving our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guard the resources, the equipment, and the support that they need to accomplish their mission and defend this nation. And with that renewed American strength, we're standing with our allies and standing up to our enemies. As I stand before you today, I'm proud to report that our NATO allies are contributing more to our common defense than ever before. And we've taken the fight to radical Islamic terrorists on our terms, on their soil. In March of this year, at the direction of the Commander-in-Chief, the Armed Forces of the United States captured every last inch of the ISIS caliphate in Syria and Iraq. And now, nearly 2 weeks ago, as the world watched, thanks to the courage of our armed forces and the decisive leadership of President Donald Trump, the United States of America brought the world's #1 terrorist leader to justice. The leader of ISIS is dead, and America and the world are safer as a result. I have to tell you, for all of my experiences in public service, sitting next to the president in the Situation Room, watching in real time as U.S. Special Forces descended on that compound in Idlib province in northern Syria, was deeply inspiring. Men and women, I'll tell you, we have the finest military in the history of the world, and they proved it one more time in that operation. Incredible. So we've strengthened our national security. We've restored America's standing in the world. In so many ways, America is standing tall again. We're putting America first again. But closer to home, as a candidate, our president also told the people of New Hampshire 4 years ago that we could revive the American economy. After, over the last administration, for 8 years, the most powerful economy in the world had grown by less than 2% on average. President Donald Trump said we could do better, and President Donald Trump delivered. The president went right to work right after our inauguration to cut taxes for working families and businesses across the board. And before our first year was out, President Donald Trump signed the largest tax cuts and tax reform in American history. The president's also someone who made a lifetime and grew up in a family business like so many of you in this room. And he understood that it's not just taxes, it's red tape. And I'm proud to report, already in 3 short years, President Donald Trump has signed more bills repealing federal red tape than any president in American history. Back when he was campaigning through New Hampshire, I remember the promise. He promised that for every new regulation that we put on the books, that we would cut 2 regulations on businesses and enterprises across this nation. But I have to admit to you that we didn't exactly hit that mark. As I stand before you today, this president has actually eliminated 8 federal regulations for every new regulation that's put on the books, unleashing an American economic renaissance. In fact, we predict that when all is said and done, President Trump's deregulatory agenda is going to save our economy about $220 billion a year. And that's costs that are going to be saved by the businesses that are all represented here. And beyond all of that, we've unleashed American energy like never before. I'm proud to report to you, today the United States of America is the largest producer of oil and natural gas in the world. And next year, for the first time in 70 years, America will be a net exporter of energy to the world. We're on the road to energy independence. And we're not just exporting energy. This president has been working from the early days of this administration to open up markets around the world. We've opened European markets to more American farm products. We renegotiated our trade agreement with South Korea. We reached 2 new agreements with Japan, and President Trump has put China on notice that the era of economic surrender is over. And negotiations are ongoing, but I promise you, in our negotiations with China, this president will always put American jobs, American agriculture, and America first. Beyond all those trade negotiations, I'm also proud to report to you that now it's been a little bit over a year. President Trump actually negotiated the largest trade deal in American history. It's called the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA for short. And when it passes, according to the International Trade Commission, we predict the USMCA is going to add some $68 billion to our economy and create more than 175,000 American jobs. Now, as I said, the president negotiated that deal over a year ago. And as I stand before you today here in New Hampshire, the USMCA is sitting on the desk of the Speaker of the House in Washington, D.C. And so while I'm here, let me just call on each one of you, great business leaders and entrepreneurs all across this great state, and frankly, all of your reach across New England and across America. Lend your support today. Reach out to your elected officials in Washington, D.C., and tell them New Hampshire, New England, and America need the USMCA, and we need it this year. So it's been about cutting taxes. It's been about rolling back regulation, unleashing American energy, and negotiating more free and fair trade. And the results have just been incredible. When you think about what this president's agenda has meant to this economy, it's hard to keep up with all the progress we're making. Since Election Day 2016, businesses large and small, like those gathered here today, have created 6.7 million good-paying jobs, and that includes 17,000 jobs right here in the Granite State. I don't have to tell you the stock market is breaking records left and right. In fact, earlier this week, all 3 of the stock market indexes set a record in a single day, making a difference in the lives of working families. I mean, I love the president often reflects that he had a fellow walk up to him and thank him for what was happening on the stock market, and he said, Mr. President, all that you're doing for this economy, you make my wife think that I'm a financial genius because their 401k is rising. This is real security for Americans, for American pensioners. Everyone is benefiting by the growth. It's amazing. In just 3 short years since Election Day 2016, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up by 9,000 points. And the Dow increased by more points in the last 3 years than it did in the previous 7. More Americans are benefiting from this economy because as I stand before you today, there are more Americans working today than ever before in the history of this country. In fact, now, for more than a year and a half, and these college kids will be excited to hear it at St. Anselm College, is there's actually more job openings in America today than there are Americans looking for work. You know, the American people know it. I'll never forget, Karen and I slipped away for a long day-and-a-half vacation the other day. We were sitting on the beach down at Sanibel Island, one of our favorite spots down in Florida. And these 2 big boys came walking by wearing Budweiser shirts. And we had our ball caps on, and we were sitting there in sunglasses. And this one fellow stops, he looks at me, and he said, "You're Pence, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I am." And he said, "Well, I just have to say hello to you." And he said, and can you give the president a message for me? I said, "You bet." He said, "You tell the president to keep doing what he's doing because I made twice as much money last year as I made the year before." And his friend next to him was nodding just the same. And I said, "You know what? I'm going to tell the president exactly what you said." And he smiled, and he took 2 steps away, and he turned back and looked at me, and he said, "And I don't know what you do, but keep doing what you're doing too." I mean, the truth is the American people are feeling it. I mean, it's amazing. There are 1 million more job openings in America than there are Americans looking for work today. And the unemployment rate today has dropped to a near 50-year low. The unemployment rate for women is at a 65-year low. And we've seen the lowest unemployment ever recorded for African Americans and Hispanic Americans. The American dream is working again for every American. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, and as I said, people feel it. I mean, it's working all across this country. The unemployment rate is below 5% in 48 states. It's below 4% in 35 states. Here in New Hampshire, it's even lower. 2.5% unemployment, making New Hampshire tied for the 2nd lowest unemployment rate in America. Great job, New Hampshire. Wow. And you know what? So it's more jobs, but it's also better jobs. I mean, under this president's leadership, the average household has seen your disposable income go up by more than $5,000 a year. Wages are also rising at their fastest pace in more than a decade. And most importantly to the president and me, to be honest with you, is that wages are rising most rapidly for hard-working, blue-collar Americans. The forgotten men and women of America are forgotten no more. I mean, thanks to the president's agenda, thanks to the confidence that Republicans placed in that candidate who filed just about 4 years ago this week, America's prospering like never before. But this president also knows that the foundation of our prosperity is security. And I want to assure you here in New Hampshire, that from the first day of this administration, this president and our entire team have been working to keep our communities and our country safe. Working closely with Governor Chris Sununu, we've taken illegal drugs off our streets and prosecuted drug dealers at record levels. Since the beginning of 2017, the DEA has removed more than 26 tons of opioids from American communities. And over the last 3 years, I'm proud to report, in strong partnership with local law enforcement and state law enforcement in places all across this country like New Hampshire, over the last 3 years, opioid-related prosecutions have gone up by 40%. We're getting serious and leaning in to the fight against drug dealers in this country. In this past year in New Hampshire, federal prosecutors with our Department of Justice charged more than double the number of drug defendants than they did in 2016 alone. These efforts are finally bringing some relief to communities like those here in southern New Hampshire. Some communities have been hit the hardest of communities across this region, across the state. In fact, I really do want to commend Governor Chris Sununu, who's leaned into this effort with a strong commitment to law enforcement, but a strong commitment to treatment. Would you join me in thanking Governor Chris Sununu for all he's done to combat opioid abuse and addiction in this state? Done a great job. In fact, in strong partnership with New Hampshire and states across this nation, I'm proud to report to you that we're beginning to make progress. Drug overdose deaths have dropped nationwide for the first time in 20 years, and they've gone down here in New Hampshire over the last 3 years in particular. The truth is we're making progress. It's modest progress, but I promise you, this president, this administration, will not rest or relent until we bring this scourge of opioid abuse and addiction to an end. So we're standing up for our national security, keeping communities safe, growing the American economy. It's all been what's happened over the last 3 years since that primary election day when Republicans in New Hampshire saw a leader who could make this country great again. But lastly, as we celebrated in the East Room of the White House yesterday, I know that here in the live free or die state, I know how grateful you all are that this president kept his word. And as I stand before you today, has appointed more than 150 conservative judges to our federal courts at every level, including Justice Neil Gorsuch and Justice Brett Kavanaugh. It was remarkable. We met yesterday at the White House with Republican members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and they reflected on how, as a candidate, our president took the unprecedented step of literally publishing a list of people that he would draw from, men and women who believed in applying the Constitution from an originalist basis, who believed in interpreting laws as written and not legislating from the bench. And I can tell you, having had the privilege to interview all the finalists for those last 2 Supreme Court nominations, having met many of the men and women who have been confirmed to our courts, this is an entire generation of judges added to our federal courts at every level who will support all the God-given liberties enshrined in our Constitution, like the freedom of religion, the freedom of speech, and the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. So we've made great progress. We've made great progress in this country for security, for our economy, for our highest and cherished ideals. But let me also say, I couldn't be more proud to serve as vice president to the most pro-life president in American history. And under this president, this party, and this movement will always stand for the right to life. So in just 3 years, America and New Hampshire are winning again. And under President Donald Trump, we're going to keep on winning. We've made America great again, but to keep America great, we've got work to do. And that's why he gave me the great privilege today to add his name to the ballot here in this first-in-the-nation primary state. I mean, the truth is, New Hampshire and America very soon will have a choice to make. We are now in the election year. It's going to be a choice of whether or not we stay on the path that's created unprecedented prosperity and security across this country, or whether we're going to take a hard left turn that the people of New Hampshire, I know, are hearing a lot about from all those people running for the other party's nomination. I mean, America is stronger than ever before. We're more prosperous than ever before. But the truth is, all that progress could be lost in one bad day in November a year from now. I mean, if the policies advocated by Democrats running for president take hold in the White House, we'll go back to deep cuts in our military, We'll go back to policies that would wreck the economy and take us back to what they used to call in the last administration the new normal of weak economic growth. I mean, think about it. Where this president cut taxes, they're, every single one of them, talking about raising taxes. Where we've rolled back red tape, they are committed to piling it on. More command and control coming out of Washington, D.C. for businesses large and small. Where we've unleashed American energy and innovation, they'll rein it back in. I mean, and lastly, it's remarkable to see leading candidates for the highest office in the land, in the Democratic Party today, that are advocating ideas like abolishing private health insurance, legalizing illegal immigration. I mean, it's extraordinary to think how far left the other party has gone. You know, I watched that last Democrat debate. It's kind of my job. I have to watch. I figure there's a vice presidential nominee in there somewhere, right? But I got to tell you, they were all standing so far on the left, I thought that stage was going to tip over. I really did. I mean, if you ran up all the numbers of all the things that they're talking about, every budget-busting proposal that they want to offer, from Medicare for all to the Green New Deal, it would actually cost the average American household $70,000 a year. The people of New Hampshire know. They actually know that we can do better. Here in the Live Free or Die state, it's about freedom. It's about opening up opportunities. I mean, here as you stand with a border with Canada, and I was told that even though New Hampshire exports more than $1 billion worth of goods and services to our neighbors to the north and the south, not one Democrat running for president today is supporting the USMCA. I mean, literally on one issue after another, the Democrats running for president want to take us back in the direction of a weaker national defense, of a weaker American economy, let alone walking away from the timeless ideals and values that make this country great and make our families strong. In fact, I think what's most remarkable to me, finally, is that leading candidates in the Democratic Party for President of the United States openly advocate an economic system that has impoverished millions and robbed the liberties of generations in the last century. That system is called socialism. I mean, the truth is, those aren't the values that are synonymous with New Hampshire. I mean, the people of the Granite State live by the words of that Revolutionary War hero, General John Stark. I've recited them more than once today. But what you understand is it's freedom. I mean, the people of New Hampshire know better than most from your rich and meaningful history in this state that it was freedom, not socialism, that gave us the most prosperous and powerful nation in the history of the world. It was freedom. It was freedom, not socialism, that ended slavery, won 2 world wars, and has America today standing as a beacon of hope for all the world. You know, I believe that the moment that America becomes a socialist country is the moment that America ceases to be America. And so I believe it's incumbent on all of us, maybe especially you here in this first in the nation primary state, to say with one voice, as President Trump said in his State of the Union address, America will never be a socialist country. You know, the truth of the matter is, it's not going to be about just winning the next election. We've got to win the next generation. So it's incumbent on each of us to explain to Americans in the rising generation where our strength comes from, where our prosperity comes from. And New Hampshire has always been a beacon of those American ideals and values. You know, the truth is, as election is now less than a year away, people always say that it's the most important election of our lifetime, but I think it's especially true this time. I mean, the stakes have never been higher. The choice has never been clearer. By re-electing President Donald Trump, we'll be able to build on the momentum that's made America great again, strengthening our military, securing our borders, prospering our economy through economic freedom, and strengthening again the foundations of the constitutional liberties that Americans have defended throughout our long and storied history. And the contrast is, if the election were to go the other way, those gains could be wiped out with less investment in our national defense, more taxes, more regulation, declining savings for America, and economic surrender abroad, let alone walking away from the values that strengthen our nation. But let me tell you something from my heart. As Democrats in Washington spend their time on endless investigations and partisan impeachment, I'll make you a promise. President Donald Trump and I are never going to stop fighting to keep the promises we made to the people of New Hampshire and the people of America. We're never going to stop fighting to keep the promises that have made this country more secure, that made this country more prosperous. You know, 4 years ago, President Trump came here to St. Anselm, and he made a promise. He made a promise to make America great again. And the people of New Hampshire, in the Republican primary, put their confidence in him, as did millions of people across this state, across this region, and this nation. And I have to tell you, I'm going to be excited to be back in New Hampshire again and again, be excited to be in New England again. Because the truth of the matter is, 3 years on and 1 year out, we've got a record to talk about. It's a record of promises made and promises kept. And it's a record of how we can keep America great. So it's an honor to be with you today. Thank you for the warm welcome to Politics and Eggs. I have delivered the one, I have received not the other. But I leave here today with confidence and gratitude. Thank you for the warm welcome. Give a round of applause to St. Anselm, if you would, for opening up this historic place. And I leave here today fresh from the privilege of having placed the name of my friend and our president on the ballot in the Republican primary here. An incredible privilege for me. It truly was. I leave here today encouraged and confident that with your continued support all across the Granite State, with President Donald Trump in the White House for 4 more years, with allies who share our ideals and values elected at every level, we're going to keep New Hampshire growing again. We're going to keep America winning. We're going to make America stronger than ever before. And with 4 more years for President Donald Trump in the White House, and with God's help, the best is yet to come for New Hampshire and America. Thank you very much. God bless you, God bless New Hampshire, and God bless America.